head out to San Diego, California. San Diego State Associate Head Coach in waiting. He'll be the head coach of the San Diego State Aztecs when Coach Steve Fisher retires, Brian Dutcher. Dutch, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I don't know if Fisher's ever going to retire.
I was going to say,
like this.
When are you going to get this job?
I don't know. It might be. I think he's looking at Boeheim and thinks that looks pretty good. So I don't know if he's ever going to leave, Ed.
Well, listen, watched you guys the other day. Rebels coming Wednesday. We'll get to that in a second. The Rebels also won a home game in overtime on Saturday, Air Force. It happened a little different way. I don't know if they were ever up like you guys were up, but I wrote afterwards, I think winning those kind of games really can propel teams to good things afterwards if you can win a game like that. You guys, though, have won a lot of games like this in terms of especially at home where you've almost been unbeatable in the last several years. What do you think about it, your kids? Is it that, even when they kind of blow a lead like that and get to overtime, there's a sense of confidence that they'll take care of business?
Our sports information director, Mike May, he does great thing with the stats, and he had some stat that we have won 86 straight games when we've led with 5 minutes or less to go. And so our guys are used to winning. They've got a culture of winning. They believe they're going to win. Now, that's not going to continue for all season, obviously. At some point, a little bad luck, a little missed shot here or there, and you got a chance to lose one of those. But right now our kids are so confident that when they get in a close game, they're going to find a way to win.
I know you've only had 2 games, but I'm sure you've watched scores throughout the non-conference. The league has risen to as high as 2 in the RPI. I don't think it's crazy to think an 11-5 can at least tie for the league. Is this the best you've seen it in your time there by a far margin, or have there been other years where the parity's pretty close?
I think by far this is the most competitive year we've had. I mean, you look at all these teams in the league, and you just sit there and scratch your head and wonder how you're ever going to win a road game.
Right.
And then you get nervous at home because you fear, if we drop a home game, then we got to go steal one back on the road, and that doesn't seem like it's going to happen a lot to me. It's just going to be very competitive, and I think every game you watch this year in the conference is going to go down to 2 minutes or less.
Yeah, and I thought, not to say, again, we can just go by records, but I thought your win at Fresno was big for this reason. I don't know how many people are winning Viejas, the MAC, the Pitt, or Fort Collins, so I really think the team that's going to win it just can't mess up against the lesser teams on the road. You've got to go win those ones while accepting the fact that going into the top 4 teams on the road will be very difficult to get a victory.
Absolutely, and Fresno was competitive. I mean, they played us to the very end, and granted, we were without Xavier Thames, our starting point guard. He was out with a back injury, and I thought Winston Shepard did a great job stepping in and playing a backup point for us as a freshman. But there aren't going to be any games on the road that are going to be easy, and that includes Fresno and some of the teams that are struggling a little bit.
You have 3 guards I'm going to write about for the paper here in Vegas on Wednesday, Thames, Tapley, and Franklin. If we go back 2 years when you were 34-3 with the Kawhi Leonard team, correct me if I'm wrong, but Thames was redshirting, Tapley was your 5th option, and as Mark Fisher told me last night, your other assistant coach, Jamal Franklin, was a nice kid who averaged 5 minutes. They really didn't do much for you during that 34-3 team. If I would have told you then, 2 years out, that they would be the staple of this team and these kind of leaders and together as they are, would you believe me?
No. I mean, who would have believed that Jamal Franklin would have gone from a spot player to conference MVP in 1 year? He would have, and that's what makes him great is his confidence level. And we wanted to redshirt Jamal at that point, but he didn't want to redshirt, and he worked his way into a couple minutes a game. And Chase, we always knew Chase had an ability to score, but it was always as a secondary scorer for us. But as his career's gone on, he stepped up in his role as a primary scorer, and those guys have done just such a great job for us that they're a real special group.
San Diego State Associate Head Coach Brian Dutcher joined us here in Gridlock, Finley Kia Hotline from San Diego, where UNLV heads to Viejas Arena for a Wednesday night game. Rebels also at Colorado State on Saturday. Big week for them. Let's go to the Rebels. Last year, you guys have 2 games. They win here by 2. You win there by 2. I don't think anybody will be surprised if it's that kind of game Wednesday. And then when you come back to the MAC, they're different this year. I don't know how much tape you've been able to watch already, but give me your thoughts, and specifically a kid here who will probably be only here for 1 season, but Anthony Bennett and what you see out of them.
Anthony Bennett's a tremendous player, and I just think, Coach Rice has done such a great job. People want immediate success, but they fail to realize he's got 4 new starters in the lineup. And what I've seen from the beginning of the year to now is that the team is starting to trust a lot more in each other. They're sharing the ball. They're playing the way Dave wants them to play. They're just getting better, and that's what you always want as a coach. You want to know your team's getting better, and I think the Rebels are getting better every game.
The first time the other night against Air Force, they have Mosier, Birch, and Bennett in the lineup at the same time, the starting lineup, I should say. They do appear a team that is good today, but can be really, really good in March. In the past, I think under Lon and perhaps even last year, they really were good early, and then I think the season took a toll on them when they got to the tournament. This year, like what you just said, it appears when you get new guys in lineups, maybe in March they'll be a lot better than they are today. Could you see that happening?
Absolutely, and they're just trying to figure out their roles. I mean, when you take this many great players, they're all used to being the man and scoring, and at some point someone's got to accept a lesser role. And I think they're doing that. I think that they all have confidence they can score the ball, but they're moving at that one more pass. They're getting better shots, and they're converting on those. And I think they're going to be dangerous at March. They're dangerous now, but I think they're going to be better as the season goes on.
I know you're probably going to have to go the company line here. I understand that, but I'm going to ask you anyway just on one side of it. Decision expected soon on if you stay in the Mountain West or the school goes to the Big East. Can you just talk, I guess, in terms of UNLV San Diego State has become a rival, at least to people here, and I believe when they go on Wednesday night, how the show will react to UNLV and the rivalry down there. How important it has been if you continue to play UNLV. I know you recruit the same players mostly. And just talk about the rivalry in your time at San Diego State, how it's kind of developed and grown into something. You and Dave are very close. I know that. How it's developed into a rivalry.
It's because we're competitive. I mean, but we like each other. At least the coaching staff do. I don't know how the players get through. I think at the end of the game, there's always a handshake, and it's a respectful game. It's not like when we lose or when we win, we don't respect our opponent. I think both teams respect each other. And it's competitive because we obviously recruit the same kids, and so it's familiar faces. It's kids that we tried to get that they got over us, or maybe someone they wanted that we were able to get, and so we're really familiar with each other as players and coaches, and it makes for a competitive environment.
Lastly, Dutch, you came to that school. I was the beat writer. It's been a while, and you'll eventually take over that program. Could you have imagined what happened with that program? And I know, Coach Fisher, I know when you first got there, you guys recruited to the Fab Five and recruited to the past, try to get kids in there. And then, obviously, when you started winning there, now you can recruit to your own accomplishments at the school. But as you prepare, whenever he decides to not coach anymore, to take over that program, could you have seen that day where, I think you're 15th in the poll today, where, you have this kind of consistency each year?
At the time it was tough, Ed. There was maybe 200 or 300 people in the building for certain games, and it was a challenge. But, Coach Fisher's a tremendous leader. He's built it. He's a real ambassador to San Diego State University, and it was his vision and our hard work that was able to build this thing to what it is right now. And now it's the challenge, obviously, is to keep it going, and that has to deal with recruiting and with our vision moving forward that we got to believe that at some point we're going to be a Final Four team.
All right, Dutch, appreciate it. We'll see you Wednesday night in San Diego.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks very much. Brian Dutch.